Well, ladies and gentlemen, the regular scheduled meeting of the Wadsworth Planning Commission will please come to order. First item on our agenda is public participation. I note that we have 6 items on our agenda this afternoon, and anyone in the audience is representing those projects will have the opportunity to address the Planning Commission when we take those items up. But if there's anyone else in the audience who wishes to address the Planning Commission on any other appropriate topic, we're glad to hear from you. If you come forward to the podium and give us your name and address. Seeing none, I'll move on with the agenda. Under old business, the first item is the minutes of the August 26th meeting, and they will be distributed at a later meeting. The second item is the conditional zoning certificate, site plan and replat, bank and drive-through and public storage facilities with a multi-tenant retail, 1100 High Street. Mr. Kaiser.
Okay, well, we did have a public hearing on this back in July. There were some issues that needed to be wrapped up a little bit further. There's also going to be some items that will have to be addressed as we move through the process, during civil plan review. But the long and short of it is that some amended plans were received to address a lot of the comments that were brought up at the last meeting. For instance, the actual property lines, dimensions, setbacks, those have been corrected, and you got those in email format. We'll have a couple paper copies up here. Also, some planning. There were some issues regarding parking. There was that was addressed on page C102. The overall development plan does comply with those minimum parking requirements, and actually there will be more parking available once a user for this vacant parcel here to the north is determined. So right now we've met that. 102C, I believe, or 103C, one of these pages here, they did address the turning radii as requested by the engineering department. They'll look at that in more detail, but they're happy with what they've got. That was 102C. And again, the revised traffic study, that was another big issue. So really, there was a letter dated August 9th that was included in your packet. In lieu of spending additional funds to update that project, there are some signal timing studies being undertaken in the corridor that will affect the intersections that should have been included in this traffic study. So rather than have them pay for a study and then additional funds, they have tentatively agreed to make a contribution to the cost of that study and the retiming in lieu of spending that money on the updated report. So that will be finalized as part of the civil plan review. And again, in terms of phasing, they did update page C103 to show phasing, and basically most of the work is going to be done before they start pulling permits to do actual building construction. Main thing is the main drive from High Street all the way to Smoke Rise will be put in along with utilities. Phase 2, then they would complete the bank. Phase 3 is the self-storage / retail building. And again, there's still some talks with, they're in discussion with other retailers for this one space to the north. That's not been finalized. And I think the only other thing to really talk about, the issues regarding the platting weren't really addressed, but I think that the platting can occur before any of the phase 1 improvements go in. If they wanted to have that take place first, they'll have to put up financial guarantees for any unfinished items. So I think it might work out better for them to do the plat, at a little bit later phase. The only thing I would point out is that when looking at the lot frontage of the 2 lots on High Street, none of them meet the 150-foot setback requirement. They're a little short because the properties that they started to work with didn't meet those requirements. They were platted in the township. So that's going to, they've already submitted their application. We're going to take it to the BZA. That's certainly a variance that we're going to support at staff because they're really not changing anything. It's just that even with this reconfiguration, they can't meet those requirements. Everything else is fine. The lots meet all the minimum requirements. They've managed to address all the setback issues. So it's really just more of a housekeeping measure to clean this up. So in the, just basically to conclude, I recommend that you approve the subdivision replat with, I believe there were 3 conditions, actually 2 conditions in the staff report. And then moving on to the conditional zoning certificate and site plan approvals for the bank, I'd recommend approval of that with the 4 conditions noted on page 3 of your staff report. And for the storage and retail facilities, approval of the conditional zoning certificate and site plan for that with the, again, 4 conditions starting at bottom of page 2, ending on page 4. But I think we've got everything that we need to do. And I did mention the few other items that will be addressed as we move forward. For instance, the covenants, conditions, and restrictions. We've got shared parking, shared access. Those will have to be wrapped up before the plat's released. There will be a development agreement to make sure that we have some future vehicular access to the property to the north through what's now going to become the detention basin to exit onto Smoke Rise Drive. And again, that agreement's going to clarify that the responsibility for those improvements are going to fall on the property that's being the developer to the north. And they'll have to work with the applicant and or his tenants to make sure that they're not interfering with their business. So I think really with that, the only other thing I would mention, there's a minor revision to the storage retail building where they are moving one of the doors. If you recall, all 3 doors into the site were on the south wall. They're moving one door to the north wall. And I think that helps spread it out a little bit more because it's going to be closer to, if I've got this, I don't think I've got the floor plans for this. Well, you sort of can see. Again, double entry doors are not going to be overhead doors, so it's, but there will be a stairwell at that particular part of the site. Let me see if I can find it, and I don't have that. But anyhow, we'll have 2 entrance points on the south, 1 on the north. I think that helps traffic from collecting all in one area. So again, that's really all I have. If there's any other questions for myself or the applicant, but again, 3 sets of approval, 1 for the plat and then 1 each for the bank and the storage facilities.
All right, any questions for Mr. Kaiser from the commission? All right, anyone in the audience wants to address the planning commission regarding this project? No? Seeing none? All right, we have recommendations, staff.
Happy to say anything you want, but thank you.
Okay. All right, we have recommendations for staff for some motions.
I can go? Okay.
You're the
I would
one.
make a recommendation that the commission approve the plat creating the 3 new building sites to be approved, subject to the conditions listed in the staff report. This is a subdivision replat.
A second. Heard the motion and the second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Does that take care of it, Mr. Kaiser?
That took care of the first one, yep.
Okay,
Okay.
I'll keep it going. I'll make a motion that the commission approve the conditional zoning certificate and site plan for the proposed bank site, subject to the 4 conditions listed in the staff report.
Second.
Heard the motion and the second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Motion carries. Okay.
And I'll wrap it up here. I'll make a motion that the commission approve a conditional zoning certificate and site plan for the proposed storage and retail site, subject to the 4 conditions in the staff report.
Second?
Heard the motion and the second. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you for coming. All right.
Okay, we'll move that on to civil review and
Yep.
get those detailed plans approved, and they can start on the construction.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay. New business. First item is a lot split, creating lots for the Primrose School at 988 Laverne Drive. Mr. Kaiser.
Okay, if you recall, earlier this year, a conditional zoning certificate and site plan was approved for the daycare, Primrose School. It was on an 11-acre parcel on the west side of Laverne. Really, all they need is this 2.5 acres. So what this plat does is create that. We'll have a vacant lot to the north, 2.5 acre parcel, I believe, for the school site. And this plat was required as a conditional, as one of the conditions of approval. City's engineering is going to assign new lot numbers and addresses for the new parcels. Again, any existing or proposed easements might need to be added to the plat. I think in your staff report, you got a copy of the agreement and drawing for the stormwater management facilities, which will be underground near the northeast corner of the site. I believe they will be installing a water main and hydrant to service the building that'll come onto the site. So that'll be put in a public easement for maintenance and access in the future. Again, small minor things that'll just be wrapped up through with our engineering department. I think a lot of these are currently being addressed. So I would recommend the commission approve the split or subdivision of City Lot 10-173, subject to the applicant addressing engineering comments before the plat is signed and released by the city engineer.
All right, any questions for Mr. Kaiser? The applicant have anything to add to that?
They are not here today.
Not
They have
here,
to come in
okay.
from Dayton, and I said,
Okay. All right.
No
Is there a motion?
Mr. Chair, I would recommend that the commission approve the split subdivision of City Lot 10173, subject to the applicant addressing the engineer department comments prior to the plat being signed and released for recording by the city engineer. And this is in regards to Primrose School, 988 Laverne Drive, C3 Commercial District.
Second?
Heard the motion, the second. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. The next item is a site plan building addition for Yoder Graphics at 724 Seville Road in the I-1 Industrial District. Mr. Kaiser.
okay, yeah, Yoder Graphics is looking to expand its operations. They've got a 9,600 square foot addition planned. Here's what the site looks like now, and what they are proposing is, try and enlarge this as best I can. This addition here, 9,600 square feet. Really, the only thing that I brought up with the applicant is you'll notice that there are some parking spaces here in front of the area that be paved for the 2 overhead doors. I believe what they're going to do is leave those spaces there and just kind of keep some kind of bollards in place so that trucks could turn up there. If that doesn't work, you can see there's a lot of vacant space here that they could just take those 5 spaces and restripe them to the west of their driveway. So that's really not a big issue. One thing I would point out is that there were a couple of variances granted for this project for a couple reasons, and that took place back on the August 19th BZA meeting. The lot's triple fronted, so it has three front setbacks. This rear yard, never really determined what it was. What we found out is, and I think I've got that on another drawing within this packet, maybe not, is that the existing building only maintains setback of about 25, 26 feet. If that were a side yard, it would have needed to be 30 feet. If it were a rear yard, it would have needed to be 50. Problem is, looking back at the records, we found all the minutes and things from 1989, nothing was addressed. So either we have a surveying error, they treated that as a side yard. At the time, it was only a 25-foot setback. So the long and short is to try and clean this up and make it legal. With this addition, went in, sought a variance to maintain that setback, which was granted. Other thing too, we found that it makes it about 5 feet short of the 60-foot setback along Plum Creek Drive. That variance was also granted because the applicants have nowhere else to go. Well, yes, it does show on this particular drawing. They couldn't go to the west because that's really where all the stormwater management facilities are. Again, no additional curb cuts. The building actually was approved by ADC several weeks ago. It's going to be very similar in nature and color to what you see here, which is the existing view of that eastern elevation. And we just continue along here to the north. Other departments have commented on it. Really, no significant issues. Fire department recommended approval, subject to a few changes. Same with engineering. They've indicated that most of their issues can be addressed in civil review. And they'll have to look at the stormwater basin to make sure that one, it's properly sized for this addition, or modifications may need to be made. But again, overall, I think it's pretty clear and straightforward. So I would recommend approval of the site plan for this addition with the 4 conditions as noted in your staff report. So that is all I have this evening.
Right. Any questions for Mr. Kaiser? Mr. Applicant, anything you'd like to comment on? Okay. You're familiar with the conditions of approval? You're familiar with the conditions of approval in the staff, and they're acceptable. Okay. All right. Do we have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that the commission approve the site plan building addition for Yoder Graphics at 724 Seville Road, subject to the recommendations, 4 recommendations in the staff report.
Second?
You've heard the motion and the second. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next item is a site plan building addition for MPI Labels, Inc. at 985 Seville Road. Mr. Kaiser.
Yeah, let me pull those drawings up. This also is an addition to an existing business here in town, MPI Labels, over on south side of Seville Road, 985, so it's a little further to the west. They are proposing this, I think it's roughly 4,000 square foot addition, also located on the east side of their existing facilities. I did have, here's kind of an overhead view of the existing conditions. They own this lot. The same owner owns this building here at the northwest corner, even though it's on a different site. That's still MPI facilities. So again, they've got no changes to the access drives. This area here would be filled in, and they do have stormwater detention sort of in this facility up just west of the parking lot. So no additional parking is being proposed. Site already can accommodate 39 vehicles. which is a little more than what's needed. And again, they also have access and use of the site here at the northwest corner. Similar things, nothing major. Fire department recommended approval. Same with engineering department. The addition will affect less than 1 acre, so they'll just need some abbreviated stormwater pollution prevention plans. Based on what's being done there, maybe some additional grease traps or interceptors may be required to, before any waste enters the storm system. And legal descriptions and easements for that basin that was built some time ago. And again, during that civil review, they'll look at it to make sure that it doesn't need to be modified. But other than that, I think, again, pretty straightforward, and recommendation would be approval with the conditions as noted in the staff report. It does look like, and maybe the applicant can, it looks like they might be moving some of the, it looks like they've got some presses over there, so probably expanding some of the printing capabilities. But we'll let them answer that.
All right, any questions for Mr. Kaiser? The applicant with us, any comments?
They're gonna be adding
Well,
new machines.
folks at home can't hear you.
Label printing machines.
Oh, can you go to the mic?
Yeah,
Just
I'm
so
sorry.
they can hear you.
Folks at home can't hear you.
Yeah, so those two machines are equipment actually coming from Italy. They're pretty expensive machines, which needs to be very, very sensitive to any kind of heat, AC. So the whole building's gonna be very conditioned. Has to be very, very controlled temperatures.
Yeah, it looks like they're
Pretty
gonna
solid.
keep the existing wall. There'll be some overhead doors getting in it, but this part of the building will be pretty much self-contained.
It's gonna have a second floor, but it's gonna be an equipment platform just for transformers, heat exchangers. We're not proposing any storage, which hence the ship ladders, which passes per building code, instead of doing ladders or actual staircases to help save room on the existing building.
Okay, are you familiar with the conditions of approval? Are they acceptable?
Yes,
Yes. Okay,
acceptable.
all right, thank you. All right, we have a motion.
A second. Mr. Chairman, I move that the commission approve the site plan, building addition for MPI labels at 985 Civil Road, subject to the 4 recommendations in the staff report.
Second.
You've heard the motion and the second. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Aye, those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next item is a new development for Powell Gymnasium at 579 Corporate Parkway in the I-1 Industrial District. Mr. Kaiser.
Okay. This is for a project on Corporate Parkway. Looks like it would be at the southeast corner there. And it's for private recreational facilities. Looks like it's going to be primarily used for some organized sporting events. I'll try and dig into this a little further. But this is what the overall plan calls for. 2 phases. In the blue is the first phase, about a 1,900 square foot lobby/restroom, snack bar area, and then a larger 9,600 square foot gym with some locker room facilities built on the south wall, 50-car parking lot, and in the future, basically another $9,600 gymnasium could be built to the east with an additional 24 or 25 parking spaces. Recreational uses really aren't identified as, by name as a permitted use in an I-1 district, but the proposed size of the building, what it's going to look like, how it's going to be used. It's similar in character to other industrial developments there on the Parkway. Again, the zoning's not very clear, but there is a section of the code that does allow the commission to approve uses that are similar in character to other uses. So in terms of actual impacts, it's very similar to other industrial uses. And in some ways, it might even be more beneficial because their hours are going to be off-peak of what the other industrial uses use. In terms of setback and building height, it looks like we are in compliance. Off-street parking, they are in compliance because, again, for these types of uses, they indicate that, well, we're going to have your seating, your parking requirements based on one space for every 3 seats in the primary auditorium or space. And there's really no built-in seating. What you see here are kind of portable bleacher systems. That's what they would use for events where there would be any kind of spectators. Probably 6 to 7 of these units. They can each hold 15 people. So 7 times 15, what's that? That's like
90.
3,505. So again, they would, in phase 1, require 30-some spaces. They're providing 50. But again, I think my only suggestion here is because we don't have that much experience with these types of uses that we actually keep taking a look at actual trip usage and parking while phase 1 is up and operating. If there's spillover required, they have it. There's a grassy area that they could use for temporary parking. But we would want to see how it functions before moving on to phase and approving phase 2, just to make sure that 75 parking spaces as proposed are going to be enough. Otherwise, we'll have to find ways to put in some more parking or enter some agreements with some of the businesses in the vicinity to allow for that overflow parking, which is really going to occur at night and on weekends. So that's really my only concern with this particular project. In terms of traffic impacts, again, most of the trips off-peak. Engineering department said we really don't need a traffic impact study is not really warranted. So I don't think we will require that, but again, we do want to keep a look at, as this thing progresses and gets used, what's actual parking demand versus what are they providing. Utilities, looks like the electric, gas, and water are going to be tapped from the mains on Corporate Parkway. The water line's on the north side, so that'll have to be bored under. And an additional hydrant's going to be installed to provide the 300-foot minimum distance required between the hydrant and the building. So that line's going to have to be put on an 8-inch main dedicated to the public, capped with a hydrant. And then really the big issue, another big issue, was stormwater management. There is a huge basin on this site. There's some evidence that it was initially designed to provide stormwater runoff for this site, plus the 2 adjacent sites to the east. Right now, there is still a vacant lot directly east of them. But a little bit further east of that, not too long ago, we approved plans for the, I think it's Connexus, the contractor storage yard. And as part of their development plan, they are putting in a basin along their west property line that will outlet to the stormwater main on Corporate Parkway. So the long and short is, I think they're going to be fine, but during civil plan review, engineering did say they're going to have to show how the existing overland flow from those sites. Is it going to be accommodated within the basin, or are they going to bypass it? So it's really more of a technical issue we don't have to deal with, but they wanted to bring that up. Again, no major comments from other departments to speak of. There is going to be more than 1 acre impacted, so applicant will need to get a notice of intent, or at least file that with Ohio EPA. Make sure that there's no wetlands that are going to be disturbed, requiring U.S. Corps of Engineers approval. But other than that, I think stormwater management and parking, which I think will be addressed as some conditions of approval. So with that in mind, I think I had some drawings of the building itself. So again, kind of a prefab steel building, will be looked at by ADC later today. But looking at that, is it a gymnasium? Is it a manufacturing facility or wholesale facility? You can't really tell. So I think it's probably appropriate for this district. And with that in mind, I would recommend approval of the site plan for the Powell Gymnasium with the 4 conditions as noted in the staff report.
Any questions from Commission for Mr. Kaiser? If not, does the applicant wish to make? You're familiar with the conditions in the staff report? Second one, okay. All right, are we ready for a motion?
Make a recommendation that the commission approve the plans for the Powell Gymnasium at 579 Corporate Parkway, subject to the conditions outlined in the staff report.
I second.
You've heard the motion, the second. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Aye, those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you for coming. And the last item on our agenda is a site plan for new development contractor storage suites, OIT LLC applicant at 323 Grandview Avenue in the I-2 Industrial District. Mr. Kaiser.
Yeah, let me pull up some drawings here for you. Again, applicant is seeking approval to construct 5 buildings that can be divided into various spaces, really to be used as what's called a contractor storage yard. So in some respects, it's almost like the private storage facilities, but for heavier duty contractor equipment. The plans, there were 2 phases. Phase 1 is going to be 3 of the buildings and some parking, and then the second phase would be the other 2 buildings and kind of a continuation of the parking. It's on the north side of, well, it's considered Grandview Avenue, but it actually is a private street that has existed, and there are already some multiple uses on the site. Again, each building can be divided up. They're showing it divided up into about 6 different suites. They can be combined. You might have more, maybe less. And they did have some elevation showing what the buildings would look like, and mainly a couple man doors and overhead doors to put in trucks or storage equipment, other vehicles that are used by contractors. So really looking at that in terms of building heights and setbacks, they do meet all of the requirements in the I-2 district. In terms of parking, the parking field is going to be mostly gravel until we hit the road surface here, the private road. So I don't know, they'll probably put some kind of bollards or something to mark the spaces. What they're showing is that, yeah, there's a potential to get 2 spaces in front of each contractor suite. Obviously, that'll make it difficult to access those doors. The long and short of it is that I think they've got more than enough place for parking. Because the way I understand it, these things will be used rather sparsely. Or someone's coming in there, they'll park in front of their man door and, go get the truck and pull it out. So I don't think parking is going to be much of an issue, but they can easily meet or exceed that. Given the low traffic proposed by this, as well as in the vicinity, engineering department and myself agreed that really there's no need for a traffic impact study for the project. In terms of utilities, it looks like there's going to be one of the buildings, and I think it's this one here at the southeast corner, which is also going to have kind of an office and restroom facilities. So I think this building's going to have water, sanitary, probably heat. Just want to find out what's going on the other buildings. Will there be electric? I don't know if they'll be heated or just electrified for overhead lights and maybe an outlet or two. However, per the fire department, there is a water line, an 8-inch main that goes down here. They're going to have to install another line and a hydrant in this general vicinity, and I know it's rather wide and vague right now, but to provide some fire protection to the back sides or the north sides of these units. But that was addressed in the fire department's comments. Again, since that will be outside of the public right-of-way, it'll have to be placed in an easement such as the current 8-inch line is. Stormwater management, again, a basin proposed at the southwest to drain some of the parking fields and buildings, and that in turn will head into the storm sewer, run further to the west, then head south, and it's going to outlet into a ravine which ultimately drains to Blockers Run. Engineering department just wanted to make sure that applicant understood that the basin has to meet water quality and quantity designs. So other than that, the other agency comments we've already talked about. Fire department, the additional hydrant's going to be needed for those separation requirements. If there's an alarm system on these buildings, a Knox box would be required for fire department access. Engineering department recommended conditional approval. Again, standard issues such as grading, more details regarding the utilities, including any water and hydrant extension. Discuss the detention basin requirements for quality and quantity, as well as the easements and maintenance agreements. And the applicant would also need to address any riparian or wetlands issues if present, and obtain that notice of intent from OEPA. If there's tree clearing to be done, it should follow state regulations. I'm not sure. There is a period of time when tree clearing is typically prohibited due to the Indiana ban for species, but I think that time frame's coming up soon when they can start clearing again. And there's already a site here with an address of 323, so we will assign a new address for this project at the right time. And with that, I would recommend approval for the contractor suite, 323 Grandview, with the 4 conditions as noted in the staff report.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Kaiser? The applicant have anything they'd like? Anything you'd like to add?
If there's any questions.
Okay. No? You familiar with the conditions of approval?
Yes.
They're acceptable? All right. All right, are we ready for a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move that the commission approve the site plan for the new development at Contractor Storage Suites, applicant at 323 Grandview Avenue, subject to the 4 recommendations in the staff report.
Second?
You've heard the motion and the second. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you for coming. Mr. Kaiser, that's all on our agenda, I believe. Is there any other business?
Yeah, that is it. Next meeting would be on the 23rd. Is that right? Monday the 23rd, is that 2 weeks from now? Don't have anything specific on the agenda yet. We'll see, we may have a few small things, and perhaps if we can get the minutes caught up, we'll have a quick meeting on that day.
Okay, thank you. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
We are adjourned.
You are watching WCTV, Wadsworth Community Television.